Ladies, let me tell you something that may sound a little crazy at first, but hear me out. If he truly loves you, he disappears. Now, some of y'all are thinking, Steve, that don't make no sense. Why would a man who loves me disappear? But let me break this down for you from a man's perspective. Men, a real man, a man with integrity, with vision, with a future in his heart, he don't just love with words, he loves with action. And if he truly loves you, sometimes he disappears. Yeah, I said it. It sounds crazy, I know. But let me explain what that disappearance really means. It's not rejection. It's not abandonment. It's preparation. You see, we're built differently. Women love in the now. You can love a man even if he ain't got it all together, even if he's struggling. You see potential. You see the future. You nurture. That's what women do. But men, we're wired to provide. We're wired to protect. We're wired to produce. And if a man feels like he can't do that for the woman he loves, if he feels like he's not in position to give her the life she deserves, he's going to feel that pressure in his soul. It hits different for a man. When a man meets a woman who stirs something deep in him, something real, something more than just attraction, he starts thinking different. He don't just see a girlfriend, he sees a wife. He don't just see dates, he sees family. And the moment he starts to see that, he also sees everything he isn't yet. He sees the gaps in his life. He sees the finances that aren't right, the career that's shaky, the discipline he hasn't mastered yet. He looks at his reflection and realizes, man, I got work to do. That's where the disappearing act comes in. He's not ghosting you, he's grinding. He's not vanishing to play games, he's vanishing to build. He disappears because he loves you enough to not waste your time while he's half of the man he wants to be. He steps back not because he's weak, but because he knows strength is in preparation. Let me tell you something. A man with real love in his heart can't stand the thought of letting the woman he loves see him unready. That's ego, that's pride, that's manhood all wrapped up in one. And you might think, well, if he really loved me, he'd let me in. We'd build together. But no. That's how you think. That's not how he's wired. When a man disappears because he's trying to become the man you need, respected, because it takes courage to step back. It takes maturity to say, I'm not there yet. It takes vision to see what needs to change and the discipline to actually do the work. Most men will try to hold on to the relationship and fix themselves at the same time and end up doing a poor job at both. A real one will make the tough choice to pause the relationship and focus. Focus on growing. Focus on getting his money right, his mind right, his spirit right, because he knows that if he brings you into his life while it's still a mess, he's going to end up hurting you, and that ain't love. That's selfishness. Let me tell you a story. I knew this young man, smart, driven, but struggling. He met this beautiful woman, had everything he ever wanted, class, ambition, heart, God-fearing. He knew from the first few conversations, man, this the one. But his bank account didn't match. His career was in limbo. His confidence was shaky. So he made a tough call. He disappeared. He cut off communication, focused for 2 years, worked 2 jobs, built his credit, started a small business. Then he came back. Same woman knocked on her door and said, I'm ready now. And you know what? She said yes. They're married today, 2 kids, thriving, because he disappeared to prepare and came back to commit. Now, don't get me wrong. Some men disappear because they're players. Some disappear because they're confused, inconsistent, immature. I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about the man who leaves not to play, but to prepare. That's the man you watch for. That's the one who might just be doing something powerful behind the scenes. Don't confuse his silence with absence. Don't mistake his distance for disinterest. Sometimes the man loves you so much he steps back to make sure when he steps to you again, he's exactly what you prayed for. But this ain't just about men. This is about you too. Because during that time, he's gone. it's your time to reflect too, to grow, to elevate. Because when two people meet and they're both becoming the best versions of themselves, that reunion is something special. So yeah, if he truly loves you, sometimes he disappears. But not forever, just long enough to come back better. Now I want you to really sit with this. Silence doesn't always mean disinterest. Just because he's not calling you every day, just because he's not blowing up your phone with good mornings and heart emojis, doesn't mean he don't care. See, y'all get so used to these boys that talk all day and mean nothing, that when a man starts acting quiet, you think something's wrong. You think he's playing. You think he's leaving. But let me tell you something. Sometimes that silence, that's where the deepest love lives. See, there's a difference between a man who goes silent to manipulate you and a man who goes silent because he's overwhelmed, focused, or working on himself. You gotta know the difference. A man who's playing games will disappear to get a reaction out of you. He wants you to chase him. He wants to keep control. But a man who loves you, who respects you, if he pulls back, it ain't about hurting you. It's about protecting the space between y'all until he figures out how to move forward the right way. Let me break it down. Men are problem solvers. That's how we cope. When something feels off in our world, money's tight, job's unstable, family stuff weighing heavy, we don't talk about it like y'all do. We don't vent. We don't call our boys and cry. We go inside. We retreat. And that silence ain't cold. It ain't about shutting you out. It's about figuring it out. That's how we process. So if your man goes silent for a minute before you assume he's pulling away, ask yourself, what's going on in his world? What pressure is he under? Because trust me, he feels it. And he doesn't want to bring that chaos into your space. And let me be even more real with you. Sometimes a man is silent because he's scared. Scared he's fallen too hard, too fast. Scared he's not enough. Scared you might see through the confidence and notice the cracks in him he ain't fixed yet. And instead of saying all that, because men ain't taught to say that, he shuts down. Not because he don't care, but because he cares too much. It's twisted, I know, but it's real. He's trying to guard his heart while holding on to yours. That silence is him saying, I need a minute, not I'm walking away. Let me give you a real world example. I had a brother come up to me one time after a show. He said, Steve, I love this woman. She's everything. But when my business started falling apart, I stopped talking to her. I felt like a failure. I couldn't look her in the eye and say I was struggling, so I disappeared. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I didn't know how to be a man in that moment. I felt like I let her down. That's how men think. They measure their value by what they can do for you, not just how they feel about you. So when they go silent, it's not always about pulling away emotionally. It's about pulling themselves together mentally. Because real men, when they love, they want to lead. They want to show up strong. And when they don't feel strong, sometimes they step back until they do. But here's what I need y'all to understand. Silence is a language. And just like any language, it takes discernment to understand it. Some silence is toxic, designed to confuse and control. Some silence is sacred, designed to give space and clarity. You've got to know the difference. You've got to look at the pattern, not just the pause. If he's consistent, shows up, is honest with you, and then suddenly gets quiet when something heavy hits his life, that's not disinterest. That's internal conflict. That's a man processing. Now, ladies, I ain't saying you should wait forever. I ain't saying tolerate being ignored or disrespected. No, ma'am. I'm saying pay attention. Ask once, communicate how you feel, and if he's the right kind of man, even if he's not ready to open up, he'll let you know, I just need a little time. And then it's on you to decide if that silence is something you can sit with or something you need to step away from. But never assume that silence means he stopped caring. Real love ain't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's invisible, but it's still there. Let me say this too. Sometimes a man's silence is not just about him. It's about you too. It's giving you time to reflect, to ask yourself if you're ready, if you're patient enough, if you trust the bond beyond the noise. Because strong relationships aren't built just on conversation. They're built on understanding. And if you can't sit through the silence, you might miss the comeback. So don't rush to conclusions. Don't let insecurity write stories that ain't true. If he went quiet, look at who he's been. Look at how he's shown up. Look at what he's facing. Sometimes the loudest love is found in the quietest moments. And sometimes the man who's silent today is the man who's building himself for you tomorrow. Let's talk about something y'all don't hear enough. Time apart can be a test of intentions. That's right. I know everybody wants the fairy tale, two people meet, fall in love, and ride off into the sunset without a hiccup. But real life don't work like that. Sometimes love has to go through something. Sometimes space is required. And what happens in that space, that's where the truth shows up. See, when a man disappears, whether it's for a few days, a few weeks, or a few months, you can learn a whole lot, not just about him, but about the relationship. Because time and distance have a funny way of peeling back the layers and revealing what's real. If he disappears and never checks back in, never reaches out, never returns, he was never really in it to begin with. He wasn't yours. He was just passing through your life. And I know that's hard to accept, but it's the truth. Sometimes that silence is the closure. That space, that's your answer. But if he disappears, works on himself, handles his business, and then comes back with clarity, intention, and a plan, baby, that man wasn't playing. He was preparing. There's a difference between a man who falls off and a man who steps back. One disappears to avoid commitment. The other disappears to become someone worth committing to. And the only way you can tell the difference is time. Let me tell you something about men. We may not always say what we feel, but we always show it. Eventually, you just got to give it time to unfold. Because a man who's serious about you, even if he disappears for a season, will come back around. Why? Because when a man sees a woman as his person, he can't rest until he feels like he's earned her. He might pull away because he's not ready, but he won't stay gone if he truly loves you. That time apart, that's when the test begins. It tests how much he's willing to grow. It tests whether he's coming back better or if he's moving on. And it tests you too. How you respond in that space says a lot. Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you sit in your worth and wait for what aligns with your value? Or will you settle for crumbs because you're afraid of being alone? Let me give you a real example. I know this woman, smart, beautiful, independent. She met a man who swept her off her feet. They were building something strong. But just as things started to get deep, he pulled back. He said, I need to get my life together before I can really be what you need. Now, she could have taken that personal. She could have begged, cried, or waited by the phone. But no. She said, do what you got to do. I'll be over here becoming the best version of myself too. And she meant it. She didn't pause her life. She kept growing, kept glowing, kept leveling up. 6 months later, that man came back, not just with words, but with actions. He said, I worked on myself because I couldn't stop thinking about what we had, and now I'm ready. And she could see the change. She didn't have to guess, didn't have to wonder, because the time apart told her everything she needed to know. That's what I want y'all to understand. If he disappears, don't chase him. Watch him. Pay attention to what he does with the time. Does he grow? Does he come back with purpose? Or does he vanish into thin air and resurface like nothing happened? Because that tells you what he really feels about you. A man's effort when you're not around speaks louder than anything he said when he was by your side. And let me be clear, this ain't just about him changing. It's about whether y'all align after the change. Because sometimes people grow in different directions, and that's okay too. Not every separation leads back to union. Some are just meant to teach you what you truly deserve. Some are meant to show you what not to tolerate the next time around. Because peace, clarity, and self-respect, that's priceless. And no man, no matter how charming, is worth you losing that. But when it's real, when it's rooted in love and growth, that time apart won't weaken the connection, it'll strengthen it. That distance won't cause division, it'll create direction. You'll come back together, not because you need each other, but because you chose each other. And that's the kind of love that lasts. So don't fear the space. Don't fear the silence. Don't fear the pause. It's all part of the process. What's meant for you can never miss you. And if he's the man for you, he'll use that time apart not to forget you, but to become the man who never lets you go again. Let me break something down for you that might just save your heart. You are not meant to fix him. That's not your job. You ain't his therapist, you ain't his mother, and you sure ain't his construction crew. You're not here to build a man from broken pieces. You're here to be a whole woman, ready to receive the love of a whole man, period. See, a lot of women fall in love with potential. You see what he could be, what he might become, what's inside him. And that's beautiful. Y'all have this gift of vision and nurturing. But sometimes that gift turns into a curse when you keep pouring yourself into someone who hasn't even decided to pick up his own tools. You start trying to fix him, guide him, motivate him, heal him, while he just sits there, receiving all of that love without lifting a finger to match it. Let me tell you something. Real men don't want to be fixed. They want to be respected. And the ones who need fixing usually don't even know they're broken. Or they do, and they're comfortable staying that way as long as you keep doing all the work. That's not love, that's emotional labor. That's spiritual exhaustion. That's you draining yourself, trying to be everything to a man who's giving you nothing but stress and confusion in return. And let me tell you why that happens. Because society has told women that being ride or die means staying while he's lying, cheating, broke, lazy, disrespectful, and confused, hoping that one day he'll wake up and appreciate you. They sold you the struggle love fantasy. They told you loyalty means holding a man down even when he ain't trying to get up. That's a lie. That's not loyalty. That's self-betrayal. A real man doesn't let you carry the relationship on your back while he coasts. A real man brings something to the table, and not just promises and potential, but consistency, effort, and growth. Now let me flip this and make it plain. You can inspire a man, you can motivate him, uplift him, support him, but you can't create him. That work is his and his alone. If he doesn't want it for himself, there's nothing you can do to make him change. You can pray over him, cry for him, show up for him, and still, if he's not ready, it won't matter. Because change only happens when someone is sick of their own mess, not when someone else is tired of it for them. You got to let that man take accountability for his own life. Let him face the consequences of his choices. Let him grow up and figure it out. Stop jumping in to save him every time he falls. Some men will never learn how to stand up straight because they know you'll be there every time to lift them up. And what happens? You start to resent him. You start to feel alone in a relationship that's supposed to be a partnership. You start wondering why you're exhausted, anxious, and unfulfilled. And it's because you've taken on a job that was never yours to begin with. And here's the kicker. While you're over there trying to fix this man, grow this man, guide this man, there's a whole world of men out there who've already done the work. Men who know who they are, men who don't need saving, just love. but you're too busy playing savior to see the man who's actually ready to meet you at your level. That's the trap. That's how you miss your blessing, by being too committed to a burden. Let me give you a real story. There was a woman I knew, had a good heart, smart, driven, beautiful. She got with this man who had charm, had dreams, but no drive. And she thought, if I just love him hard enough, he'll change. She paid his bills, helped him start a business, stood by him through his mess. And what did he do? He cheated, he lied, and when she finally walked away, he told her, I didn't ask you to do all that. And you know what? He was right. She chose to carry what he never asked her to. That wasn't her fault. She meant well. But it was a hard lesson. Just because you can help someone doesn't mean you should. You deserve a man who's already doing his work, who shows up healed or at least healing, a man who's honest about his flaws but actively working to grow. A man who doesn't expect you to fix him, but welcomes your support as he fixes himself. That's the difference. That's the standard. So stop confusing love with labor. Stop mistaking struggle for strength. Stop thinking your worth is measured by how much pain you can endure for a man who won't even lift himself up. You are not his project. You are not his plan B. You are not his emotional bandage. You are a woman worthy of a partner, not a patient. And let me tell you this last thing. When a man is truly ready for love, he won't let you fix him because he'll already be doing the work. He won't want to hand you a mess. He'll want to hand you stability, leadership, protection, and peace. He'll be proud to say, I worked for this. I became the man who deserves this kind of woman. So stand in your worth, let him do his work, and stop trying to be the hero in a story that ain't yours to write. The right man doesn't need you to build him. He needs you to build with him.